Hello and welcome to Unit 6. Today we are going to be doing Lesson 2 in our Unit 6 studio about modern times. If we take a look at our objectives here, what are we doing? We will make two studio projects, an abstract painting and a mixed media project. How are we doing this? By painting, photographing, and inserting images into PowerPoint. Why are we doing this? To show our understanding of modern times in art. And so unit lessons 1 through 5 will be this abstract painting. So we're going to focus on that today. So today our goal, or our previous session, we did lesson 1 where we made decisions, collected materials, collected inspiration for the subject, and set up our workspace. So today we're going to physically get started with this. So our lesson 2 step goal is going to be to sketch and draw today. While we think about sketching and drawing, I did want you to remember to create a balanced composition. So it should have a sense of equality on all sides in some way, whether that's through shape or color or placement, it should be balanced. And then I want you to think about the abstract style that you selected and how that style could change the way you draw your painting. So we're going to consider a couple of things. We're going to consider some shape and we're going to consider space before we get started with the drawing portion. Notice that there is a QR code there on the screen with our Padlet link so that when you are complete today with your sketching and drawing portion and you want to share it out, you can scan that QR code and share your progress. Okay, so when we think about shape, I did want you to think about the different styles. So if you are going to draw with shape in the Fauvist style, then you want to really think about drawing simplified shapes, flattened shapes that repeat. And then also you can repeat them often enough to create an entire pattern if you wanted. And that would help with that idea of Fauvism. Perhaps, though, you're more interested in thinking about painting a more surrealist painting. And if that's the case, thinking of artist Jean Miro and being inspired by his imagination, you could be inspired by your imagination, creating shapes of amoeba-like shapes, so very curvy, organic shapes. Compare the two examples of the dog. Or you could take this idea of surrealism to in a different direction, more like Salvador Dali, where he was distorting the shapes. So he has a recognizable image and he then uses that image and distorts it in some way in his composition. So you could do that as well to create more of a surrealist painting. And then the last style really is Cubism. And so if you wanted to mimic this style in your painting, you might go with the idea of disassembling and reassembling your object. So you can see at the bottom here how we have several different drawings of more realistic cameras from different angles. And then on the right side where the artist has disassembled or reassembled them into a different composition. So you can kind of see how that might look from a cubist perspective. The other thing that you can remember is about the background and about fragmented geometric shapes, so you can break them apart as well. So that's a little bit about how you might think about shape as you approach your drawing for this project. The other element of art we're going to talk about is space. So you need to have some understanding of how you want to define space. If you want to follow in the idea of the Fauvists, that would be the first example there with a flattened sense of space. So you're going to avoid the rules of one-point perspective and trying to make things look accurate or three-dimensional. You're going to simplify things and flatten and use bold patterns or shapes in the composition. Okay. The cubists would take their space and with their geometric fragmented objects, they would position them in a way that they were blending into, or the OLS likes to say, knitting together the fractured shapes of the object into the background. And that flattens that composition a lot. because you don't know where the object starts and where the background starts because they're like knitted together. Okay. You might also consider the abstract expressionists, where they were merging objects with the background. And so you have this softened edges that kind of just blend right in. So that might be something to consider with your space. Now, the surrealists went a different direction with space. And if you wanted to mimic the surrealists like Salvador Dali, you would use some sense of perspective. So you're going to make objects that are farther away smaller and closer to that horizon line, and objects that are closer to you are going to be larger. So you can kind of decide and pick which of these styles you're mimicking and keep these simple concepts in mind as you try to pursue that style. So today is really all about sketching and drawing. Again, there's that Padlet link. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can bring up, nope, I need my camera, and I'm going to pull it over here. Okay, so I'm going to, this is my sketchbook. I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to grab my reference images. So I have my two lilies and my paper. So I'm going to take a piece of paper out of my canvas paper packet, and this is what I'm going to draw on. Now, if you feel more comfortable doing some pre-sketches and things ahead of time, by all means, go ahead and do that. The idea, let's see it's tightened here, is that I'm going to try to create a Fauvist composition with some kind of version of lilies here. I'm going to really avoid the background and not pay attention to that, thinking more about blending this into the background. Remember, you can merge different styles here as well. So do I want this to be horizontal, vertical, or horizontal? I think I want it to be horizontal. And so I'm going to look at simplifying my shapes. So if I'm looking at something like this, I might start with this center portion here and bring this down there. And I'm sketching this in first. Um, and I'm not worrying too much about it matching at this point because again, we're a little bit more open to our interpretation. I don't have to sketch it exactly. I don't like that, so I'm gonna change it and do what I want it to look like, because it doesn't have to be this idea of realism with this. We're doing an abstract painting. So if I want to make it look different, I can. And so this may not look like the shapes that I have here on my drawing because it's really not. And I'm going to put in, I like the flowers when they come more to a point. So in my sketch, I'm going to correct that and make it the way I want it to be. All right, so I have my nice big lily kind of sketched in here quick. And I do have to do something about this center. So I am going to come in and kind of draw in some lines that represent the center portion of that flower and put in some kind of shapes here that represent that color here in the center. And my center is kind of lost there, so something like that. I'm going to not worry about the green background. If I wanted to look at this one for some other inspiration, maybe I would put in some green, maybe some green. I think this is the leaf, the green leaf for a lily. They're just kind of, so maybe I'll put a couple of green leaves peeking out in this space here to kind of create some sense of balance. I don't know how I feel about that. We'll see when I start to paint it in. I may paint those over. But that's pretty much where I'm going to start with my sketch for this project. So this is not, it doesn't have to be super elaborate and realistic. It's more about what I want it to look like and the expression, simplifying those shapes. Give me the overall idea of what this is going to look like. So if you wanted me to take a look at your simplified sketch or your abstract sketch, this would be a great opportunity for you to scan that QR code, take a picture of it, and upload it there to our Padlet. And that's it for lesson 2. When we get together in lesson 3, we will start the painting process of this studio unit. If you have any concerns or questions, please reach out to me through email and I will get back to you as soon as possible.